Welcome to Talent Hub Talk. I am Ben Duncan, and this is a place where prominent and inspirational figures from both the local ANZ and global Salesforce Ohana share their stories. This episode is sponsored by our friends at Flow Republic. Flow Republic is the elite Salesforce Academy, helping architects all over the world to realize their goal of becoming a Salesforce certified technical architect. The success that architects are having with Flow Republic is incredible. So if you are on your journey to CTA, then I highly recommend checking out flowrepublic.com to understand how they can help you. In today's episode, I am joined by Gourav Sood, a Salesforce certified technical architect and the head of engineering and architecture with Ingenuity in Sydney. Through this episode, Gourav shares why he pursued a career in IT and what the first decade of his career looked like before he found the Salesforce ecosystem. He explains how he first came across the Salesforce platform and what he initially thought, and then how he became much more aware and interested in the platform's capabilities later in his career when he was working in an integration architect role, working with Mulesoft, but in a Salesforce environment. Gourav then actually joined Salesforce without having worked in a Salesforce role himself, so he explains what this was like and how he was able to get up to speed quickly with their internal training programs. Gourav talks us through how he went from no Salesforce experience and 0 certifications to Salesforce Certified Technical Architect within 3 years. He talks about the challenges that the CTA presented and how this journey evolved for him. Finally, Gourav talks about his new role with Ingenuity, why he chose it, and the skills and capabilities he hopes to grow and build within the practice over time. I hope you enjoy the episode. Gourav, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm good, Ben. Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I think it's an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, so obviously we know each other reasonably well. I know your story, but I'm really excited to share your story with our audience because I think it's quite unique and I think some people may have a different perception of your background to the reality. So I'm keen to go through that and share more about your story. So starting off, I guess right back at the beginning and way before you found the world of Salesforce. Can you tell me a little bit about what kind of piqued your interest in working in IT and the kind of career path you initially planned to take?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I'll possibly go back to my childhood where I thought about really getting into engineering. The idea was I actually come from a middle-class family in India, and the whole goal of a middle-class family in India is to get the kids on the learning journey or study path, and so that they can get settled and secure a good job. And that's exactly what my parents were thinking in the lines. And the guidance was that, okay, I get on a path where I can do something better for the life. And I think where I am today is completely credit goes to my parents and the family who were able to support me. And the journey goes back to nearly when I was in year 8. Until year 8, I was doing okay in the school, going back to back and going well from the normal education perspective, right? And at that time, when one of my cousin actually came over, she actually did her engineering at that time. I'm talking about 95-ish that time. So she came over, she did engineering, and then she actually got into Indian Army as well. So I was super impressed the way she has gone through her whole career itself. And I got inspired from her that, okay, yeah, that's an awesome journey what she had. I wanted to learn a little bit more. I actually understood that, okay, she went through the engineering, and to get on engineering, it's more of that, okay, I have to get on mathematics and science has to be super strong. So which I was already doing, but my schooling was in kind of in Hindi medium actually in India. So it was not in English, and I was told that, okay, engineering happens in English medium. So you got to really change your technique and change your ways and learn about how the whole education system will reflect on it. So I actually spoke to my mom literally, and I said, okay, mom, I have to go. You have to come with me and speak to the principal of my school, and we have to convince them that, okay, they're going to allow me to sit in this school in English medium. In the Hindi medium, I'll sit in all the exam in English. And because I was doing very well from past few years, and my principal said, yeah, if you want to do it, let's try that. And that's your career if you want to go for it. But I want results. That's what I want. So I was like, yeah, that's okay. Let's figure it out. So in the whole daytime, I used to study in Hindi and learn all the study curriculum in Hindi with all the other students. In the evening, I used to go and get extra coaching to understand the same concept in English as well. And then whole year I did that, and I actually set up my base foundation very strong in maths and English. And I still secured first position in my class and for eighth and ninth. And that helped me to prepare my base that, okay, I was able to get a strong foundation at that level. And then at that time, I was like, okay, yes, my direction is clear, my pathway is clear, and I have to get into a good college. So I was fond of bikes. So I actually challenged my dad that, okay, dad, I really want to get that bike. My dad said, okay, yeah, why not? We'll get you that bike. You clear your competitive exam. As soon as you clear your exam, we're going to get you the bike. I was like, yeah, that's okay. I'm going to do it. I know. So I studied hard year 11 and year 12. And the competitive exam, it came out. And the day the results were out, I was actually in hospital, unfortunately, with him. He was in hospital. And he saw the results and he was like in tears. And he said, okay, I'm just calling that agency and you just pick up your bike whichever you want. I was like, okay, let me do that. So that was like the motivation or a goal setting for me to really achieve one target. So that's how I got into a good college where I could have performed well and then set up my whole strong foundation. And you won't imagine, I actually spoke to a few friends and they said, oh, these days, 2006, 2002 was the year. And these days you should focus on electronics and communication. That's the area to work on. And that's the area which will boom. And I was like, yeah, that seemed promising. And my nobody was able to give me direction. Computer science would be right thing to do at that time. So I gave preference that, okay, electronics and communication is my first preference and the computer science as my second in the college. And based on the rank, I got into computer science. I was put on hold in electronics and communication branch. I spent few months in computer science, and then I got promoted based on my rank. Someone left in electronics, and I went to electronics. So whole 4 years, I actually did my engineering in electronics and communication. And it was like I went through, enjoyed all the journey, and final year, I was a whole set of companies came over into the campus for recruitment, and one of the company was Infosys. So, and that was my first interview, and I went through the whole process, and I got the job. And I called my dad that, okay, I got the job in this particular company. And my dad was like, again, in tears after 4 years. Yeah. Similar situation. And yeah, and that's how I landed in my first job and set up my path with a strong foundation into IT. And of course, with all engineering, all different subjects I went through, different programmings. Of course, I was in electronics, but I was still doing a bit of C++, extra hands-on, doing a bit of training as well to get through the track. So that helped to set up the strong foundation and build up the good interest within IT.
So what was when you joined Infosys then, what was your early career like? What did you do there?
So Infosys is very specific in terms of when anybody, and they hire from, like, they do bulk hiring from different campuses and different colleges, right? And they hire based on the needs of which particular technology they would want to put these particular people in. So they actually they actually recruit bulk, and then eventually they put all these different candidates into different training tracks. Some in 2006, they put me into Java. And that's how I learned Java, learned about the concept. So different, again, they pick people from mechanical or electrical or computer science and electronics. And then they say, okay, now that's a pool. Everybody will go through the training. People who have done advanced education, they might skip few particular parts, but everyone will go through the training. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got introduced to Java. And I was into communication and media track. where my first project was with one of the telecom company. I think I don't remember now, but that was one of the company where I actually started building Java application first. So Java and J2E was my strong area, and based on my background in OOPS and big background in C++. So
Yeah.
that was the stepping stone towards that.
So you stayed with Infosys for 8 years, I think, which you don't really see that kind of tenure now, especially for people that are, in their first role. People tend to kind of start and stay for a couple of years and go and find something new. So what kept you there for so long?
Yeah, I think that's the motivation behind staying at Infosys for that long was to because I'm from Chandigarh in North India, and my job was also in Chandigarh. My parents were in Chandigarh. I built a good circle there. My good connections were there, and then at that time I was like, okay, I'm doing very well from my growth perspective. My whole stream of learning is going very well. My friend circle is pretty good. My family is close by. Relocating felt like so much pain at that time. So I thought, okay, maybe it's a good thing to maybe stay at that particular location for a few years. And then when I spent few years, I actually found my partner there in Infosys itself, and we were together. My in-laws were again in the same city. So I'd never felt like, okay, I should actually just take a strong move to really go out. So, and that's one of the reason I actually spent like 5 years. And after 5 years, I got an opportunity to go to France for 3-4 months for one of the engagement. I went there. That was the first time I went out of north of India. I never went out from north of India before that, and ever. So I learned new culture altogether, learned new language, met so many people over there, looked at the world from different perspective. And I was like, okay, I think this is awesome. And I spoke to my manager that, okay, I want to take up few of these kind of opportunities again. And I actually was lucky enough to, within 6 months, able to pick up a project in UK. And I was in Ipswich, British Telecom, spent 2 years there. So that was like a time when I actually enjoyed a lot. And best thing was I was able to not only like enjoy the culture, enjoy the location, but the work also, because from work perspective, it was like we were actually building whole field service cloud, field service lightning itself, custom on Java with AngularJS kind of framework, Backbone JS. I'm not sure if you would have heard that before. So Backbone JS was the front end, Java was the middleware with Oracle Service Bus as a middleware. Sorry, Java was the backend, and it was connecting to their mainframe in the back. So I was there on that particular program for 2 years, and I had opportunity to like work across all different streams in that particular project. So that gave me like I was able to work on Oracle Service Bus, explored my potential on middleware. Java was already I spent like 7-8 years at that time. I was working as a team lead to really get that project going. And then Backbone JS JavaScript framework was first time I actually explored in that particular project. So it was awesome experience to have where I could really explore my breadth of technical stack altogether. So that was like 2 years, and I felt like, yeah, I would want to stay here and just keep working on it. 2 years went by, and I came back to India, and it was like my ninth year in Infosys, and I spoke to my manager. I said, okay, I'm migrating to Australia. Do you have any project or anything to really get me going in Australia? And he said, yeah, let's figure it out. And with the project, I came over, and then afterwards things were slow, a little bit hard for Infosys to give me something here. And that was the reason I left Infosys. Otherwise, I could have just worked in Infosys, maybe on another Java application. I could have never got introduced to Salesforce.
Say, through that journey, had you become aware of Salesforce at all? Like, were you starting to hear about? I mean, obviously, you were starting to hear about cloud computing because everyone would have been. But specifically, like, did you see the growth of Salesforce and take any notice of it, or were you just 100% focused on Java at that time?
So I think till 2014, I had no clue about Salesforce. I actually learned about Salesforce from my brother. He was finishing his degree in British Pilani in India, and he said that, okay, I'm actually getting an opportunity to do internship with a company called Salesforce. I was like, okay, let me check that particular company for you. And I went on the website and went through the whole stack. I was like, that seems pretty interesting deal. And I said, yeah, definitely, you should do the internship and you will get the relevant experience. And then I actually started exploring. And while doing that, I was like, okay, why someone would want to just create a field object from UI? Because I was coming completely from technical standpoint, right? So I was like, I can do that. It's 5 minutes job for me to just create a field, and then with the quickly half an hour job, I can just expose that through the website, through the web service, and I can get it done. I was like, at that time my mind was not into look at from the business perspective, because
Sure.
and then from dev lifecycle perspective, I was like, okay, it's easy peasy, we can just do it. Why do we wanna? And I left it in 2014. I looked at the platform, I left it, and I was like, yeah, that's okay, we'll look at it later. So in 2015, when I was actually looking for the job, I actually got interviewed with Salesforce, and I was interested. That okay, yeah, definitely, and that was an exact target in marketing cloud stack. So I went through the interview, first round, and the hiring manager was very happy that, okay, I think you are technically very sound. I think you will do well, but you don't have any marketing experience at all. I was like, yeah, I don't have any marketing experience. He said, unfortunately, because of that, yeah, we can't really move forward. And now if I look at it, I felt like it was good decision for that particular hiring manager that they didn't never pick me up, because I would have worked in marketing cloud stack. But saying that, looking at other architects who actually came from marketing cloud and they came to Salesforce Core and became CTA still, and then went through the whole journey altogether similar. So yeah, I think that was the introduction to Salesforce. But it was like, okay, it was just a little bit of touch, didn't really get feel of what Salesforce is, what we can do, the capabilities and the tech stack we have. So yeah, and I left it, and I had opportunity to join somewhere else, and I picked it up.
Yeah, yeah. So you went from I mean, your career was Java development for a long period of time, team leader, then integration architect, and then you were exposed to Mulesoft as well when you were in Sydney, right? So I guess
Yeah.
how did you make that transition from developer to architect and focusing in on the integration space? And then also, when you first were exposed to Mulesoft, what did you think of that?
So, because my background was Java, and while all different engagements, I was actually able to work on Oracle Service Bus, which I don't know if people really use that tool right now as middleware or not, but I came from Java background, middleware background, new integration concepts. It was very easy for me to really look at Mulesoft as a application platform as a service, and look at the technical possibilities or landscape on how integration might actually solve the problem. So it was easy for me to move from there. And from architecture perspective, like last 2-3 years before that role, I was actually playing architect role, technical architect in Java space. So it wasn't hard for me to take on an opportunity, understand what is in that particular platform, and then start rolling out slowly and slowly into the organization. And that was something again within my Pepper financial services company, where I actually got introduced to, like, my manager gave me the opportunity to really evaluate MuleSoft as a platform. And then I actually had opportunity to really build a team from zero to a couple of people over there, set up the whole MuleSoft from start, like acquiring product or setting up the first instance, and then eventually integrating with the mainframe at that time. So that was my first encounter with MuleSoft, particularly to learn about it. And when I was doing that, and Salesforce was getting implemented in the organization, so I was actually on the integration stream to connect Salesforce with the legacy systems over there with MuleSoft. So, and I actually reached out to my reporting manager there, who was Atif Saad. So Atif, I said, okay, looks like there is an awesome 1 week training happening for Salesforce integration focused. I really would like to go on that particular training and learn about different integration mechanism, and because I'm coming from that particular background, and it'll help the project. So I went there on the training. I just looked at the whole Salesforce platform and the capabilities and different technologies to really connect. Like at that time, Aura was getting introduced, and looking at all integration patterns, I was like fully amazed that okay, this platform is awesome, where you get a lot of capabilities to do completely config based implementation versus completely custom implementation if you want to go whichever direction. So that was kind of the introduction, and within few months I had opportunity to really interview for a role at Salesforce. And again, at that till that time I had zero expertise or zero project implementation experience in Salesforce, because I was still building integration in Mulesoft. So yeah, that's how I got introduced to Salesforce and get through the whole Mulesoft implementation at Pepper.
So, what do you think had changed? Because you mentioned before when you first saw Salesforce, you didn't come at it from a business angle. You came at it as a developer. Like, I can do this. I can build this. Like, why would you configure this? Why? Like, what's the value in this product?
Yeah.
So, and then you get to a point where you go on this course and you see the value of the platform. Was that just a maturity thing? Like, you as an IT and architect had matured and your thinking had changed?
I think mix of both, because I saw the platform in like early 2014. I'm sure platform was mature enough, but I didn't get that perspective of the platform because I just looked at one of the devog and I played around with the few of the objects and the fields and the page layout, and I felt like, okay, yeah, that's easy. That's not hard enough to make it happen. But when I actually get through the training and actually understood ins and out of how different integration patterns can actually are available out of the box with the REST API or with composite APIs or different inbound integration or outbound integration. So it was like platform is given with a lot of capabilities, and project or use case basis, you pick whichever integration is more relevant to you. So at that time, my exposure to Salesforce was huge. Second time when I looked at it, first time it was very, very normal, very high level overview of the platform itself, which actually helped me to make the decision that okay, yeah, this is awesome platform. If I have opportunity, yeah, definitely I will pick it up.
And had when you joined Salesforce, had MuleSoft already been acquired?
No, not yet.
Okay. So do you, because that role with Pepper was your first exposure to MuleSoft as well. So had you not gone down the Salesforce path, do you think you'd have gone further as a MuleSoft specialist, perhaps? Like, is that how much you enjoyed working with the platform at the time?
I actually considered it. I was like within few months, I actually, after building few integrations and delivering the value of those particular integration within business, I actually set up the whole enterprise services setup in the company where business was aware, oh, we are implementing MuleSoft. Business never knew that okay, they can connect two systems like that in so fast in less time. So I was actually considering to make MuleSoft as my preferred platform where I can grow my career. But at that time, again, MuleSoft was not as big as Salesforce, and of course, it was still in the startup phase. And from platform perspective, the exposure which I had on Salesforce within a week of training versus what I saw in MuleSoft, it was drastic difference from platform and opportunities perspective too. So that gave me a direction that okay, yes, I think MuleSoft is awesome. It's not something I won't prefer. I would want to really use that skill for the projects which wherever I go. But Salesforce is the platform where I would like to make the jump.
Sure. And again, I think it's important to highlight when you joined Salesforce as a technical architect, you've not worked in a Salesforce role before. So, what's that kind of onboarding? And I think it's also important to highlight that used to be quite common in that Salesforce would go out and hire just really good architects and train them
Correct.
on Salesforce. And I think now it's kind of they probably still do, but what I see of Salesforce is they're often hiring people with experience, and they're looking
Correct.
to take from partners and so on. So going into Salesforce as an architect without Salesforce experience, what was that like?
So I think given Salesforce professional services, the kind of enablement tracks which exist, the boot camp which you get on as soon as you join, the awesome experience. Well, like I never imagined any company giving an employee 6 weeks of time to start from 0 certification to 5 certification. Give them enough time to, like, don't deploy to any other project, but let them learn about the platform. I never heard about that in any other organization, and that too at onshore. Right, offshore, definitely companies, they give enough time to really skill their particular resources, and having that track of what exactly you need to achieve, what are the awesome resources which you have internally available from certification perspective. And I was fortunate enough to really join with a few awesome other architects like Satya. Satya and me literally joined on the same day. Satya joined in Melbourne, I joined in Sydney, and we were really talking every day nearly for 6 weeks to getting through the whole enablement path and getting to the boot camp. So that gave us very strong base to, like, okay, within first week admin, second week advanced admin, platform app builder, sales cloud, and service cloud, 5 certification within 5 weeks. We just finished in the boot camp. And that gave us good enough comfort in terms of, okay, we understand the product now, not maybe to a detail level, but at least we have the basics. And given the expertise which I had from past, from architecture perspective and from integration perspective, that gave me confidence to talk about the right architecture in front of the customer. So, and that's how I have seen many other architects within Salesforce at that time, where architects coming from different technologies, they get trained and then get ready for the projects and implementation. But I have seen many other architects who came from Siebel. And Siebel, they already knew the domain. They knew exactly how this whole sales processes and everything works, which I didn't know. And but it was all evaluation learning for me during bid time.
So when you joined, obviously you tick off those 5 certs, but did you immediately identify, like, did you know what the CTA was when you joined? Was that like an immediate goal, or did that come with time?
So before, like, joining Salesforce, in my first interview, I actually met Khalid and Carl. Both were CTAs, strongest CTAs in the region. They both interviewed me for 55 minutes, back-to-back questions, asking all different architecture-related questions. And then after that, I told them, okay, I think I have heard about CTA. 2016 was the time, and at that time, Trailhead launched the whole pyramid itself. And I told them, okay, I would like to get on that particular track. It seems very promising because I was coming from Java and then Open and Mulesoft, but there was no clear defined. Mulesoft has defined path of like becoming developer to architect and a platform architect, but that wasn't really very well established in 2015-16. So Salesforce showed me the whole pyramid. I was like, yeah, that looks pretty solid foundation work. I get through the whole certification. I can hit that CTA certification within maybe 2 years, 3 years. And I mentioned that to Khalid, and Khalid said, don't worry, you will be ready for CTA within first year. I was like, wow, okay, let's see how we go. And when I did my first certification, got on the project, first year went by so quickly because it was so busy in the projects. And I didn't have any opportunity to really study to get on the track of CTA. So after spending almost 1 year, in 2018 was the time I actually thought, okay, I think I have to really set a target. So Salesforce had awesome Bedrock badges track where every architect, program architect or technical architect or a solution architect, they can basically take out time between the projects or during the projects, if from personal commitments, if you can manage the time, you can get on the Bedrock badges. And then that gives you foundation of getting on the track of CTA. Bedrock badges will not give you, of course, CTA, but it will give you enough strong foundation to know about the platform that you can get on CTA. So I learned about all that. Earlier, it used to be known as PA badges, which is more or less focused on program architects. Mm-hmm. But with time, it was open to every architect in the team. So I looked at that whole Bedrock badges journey in 2018. I was like, that looks very awesome. Like it actually gave me confidence that, okay, if I get on this particular track, I'll be able to build up strong foundation, and then we'll look at how long the journey might look like. I just got on the track, and I was struggling to really get all the badges, all because too much commitment within the projects. and then it was hard to take out time through your personal life. So, and at that time, my little one was, I think, 2 years, and around 8:30, 9 o'clock, I used to put him into sleep, and then I thought, okay, maybe I have to change my schedule completely. So I actually changed my living style. That I used to sleep around 9ish, wake up at every morning. We wake up at 4 a.m. 4:30 to 6:30, 7 o'clock. I used to study every day, 2.5 hours. Even weekend, even public holiday, whatever it is, I used to wake up 4 o'clock. So that was 2.5 hours dedicated to all this study. And that gave me the basis of, okay, continuously I'm incrementally increasing my knowledge in every domain. So that's how I got on the track. And I finished all Bedrock badges in, I think, 8 months, 9 months eventually. In 2019, by I think Jan or Feb, I had finished all badges. And that was boost for me, because I was able to achieve the certifications and I was able to achieve a Bedrock badge. Because for Bedrock badge, you had to get through the certification before. And some of my friends used to say, oh, which certification is happening next now? Because every 2 to 4 weeks, there was a certification which I used to attempt and get through it. So everybody used to make fun of me. And I'm like, you're just always studying. I said, yeah, that's where I am right now. And that's what I want to do for a few months or maybe a year or so.
So the first year, obviously, where it came when you focused on projects, and then you started focusing on these badges. So how long from the moment you kind of really committed to your CTA to passing the review board? What was the duration?
So, in Salesforce, we had Bedrock badges, and then you talk to your CTA lead. They will find a right relevant person, a CTA coach for next 4 to 6 months, which is more or less your boot camp for CTA, and then you're ready for sitting in the review board. So I was very lucky that Francesco, who was one of my co-architect in first project, we worked together. We had a good reputation to work together, and then we thought, okay, I reached out to him, and he said, yeah, I'm more than happy to coach you. So I reached out to him, reached out to CTA lead Khalid, and they gave me opportunity. Yes, I think we can put you in September 2019 review board. And there are a few more fellow CTAs with candidates who are working towards, so you might want to talk to them. I was like, okay, who are they? And I got to know there are like 9 candidates who were working together. So Satya was one of them again. So, and Satya and me and few other architects, we actually started getting together and getting through the whole boot camp. Boot camp was all about that you have fixed number of like 10, 12 CTA scenarios, which you need to solve and then present to another judge and then get some feedback and improve yourself. So while I was doing that, I actually realized that whatever I have done last year, I'm starting to forget, because whatever I had learned about maybe application development or integration, because in CTA in the mock scenario, judge might ask you anything in any domain. So you got to be on your toes for every question, right? So, and you need to know every bit. So it was getting a little bit harder for me to really recall everything. So what I started doing internally, I actually started creating a mind map for all 8 domains. So application and architect or platform developer, integration or identity, like all 8 domains. I actually started created one mind map for each, and I started documenting all the knowledge over there. And Francesco used to tell me that, okay, I think it'll be great to structure your content in a way which you get through, and then you basically open it up internally into the community so that other architects can get benefit of it. So I was like, yeah, that's okay. Let's structure my content, get myself ready. And I did one mock scenario, and I was like devastated by doing that first scene. I was like, okay, what was that? 6 pages. I couldn't even finish 6 pages in my 2 hours preparation. And I don't know what I'm presenting. I don't know what I'm answering. So it was so daunting exercise. And I told Francesco that, okay, I don't think I can really sit in the review board and even read 8 pages. It was getting that hard. So, and he was smiling. I said, yeah, everybody get through it. You will be fine. Don't worry. So I actually started doing a lot of bits in terms of preparing, like how to read fast. There are few different exercises I started doing, creating more mind maps, revising all the content nearly every week. Right, so I created mind maps, and then every week I used to have a mock scenario, either by myself to present to me, or present to some other fellow candidate like Satya, or present to another judge. So every week, every Friday, I used to carry those big notes and used to go to the room, present that scenario, and then Saturday I used to recover from that particular scenario, because you get to, oh, I don't know that, I don't know this particular scenario, I don't know this particular section, how I'm gonna do that. So Saturday was recovery to get through that particular pain, and Sunday used to be, okay, let's get on back. This is the gap, I have to fill this, I have to get through this. And then Monday again, you start working on revising your content, and by Friday you get through the next scenario. So that happened for 5 months back to back.
Like a full-time job, hey? It's like
It was.
yeah.
It was like that, because, and 9 to 5 was customer. You can't really skip your project work, right? So, and all these bits are happening your time afterwards. So, and every day was like, I have to get through it. I have to get through it. And slowly, I think after 4 months, it was a time that, okay, yeah, bring it on. Access, like, it's you just need to keep practice, and then eventually you get the comfort. It was after doing a lot of practice, I felt like, okay, whenever judge is about to ask anything, I know exactly where they are taking me, and I know exactly what they are asking and what they're expecting me to say, because they want to hear me calling out all those bits I might have missed in the presentation. So it was like that. And then I sat in the review board in 2019, and I was super confident in the morning. I went around 6 a.m. I remember 7:30 was my board, and I met Suzanne in the morning, and I was like super pumped up. I was like, I'm just gonna smash it. And the moment I had the scenario in my hand, I was like, okay, let's get through it. And 2 hours went so quick. At that time, we were used to get only 2 hours to solve the scenarios. So by the end of it, I was like, okay, what happened? I didn't finish the scenario. It was different industry altogether for me, and I couldn't join the dots fully. And I told Suzanne that, okay, I don't think I actually will be able to get through it. She said, don't worry. This was your attempt. Presentation is your second attempt. When you're presenting, you can fix few things if there are gaps.
Yeah.
And then in Q&A, you can still improve your solution. So you still have 3 chances. Basically, you can do it. I was like, okay, let's go through it. So we get through the whole presentation. I fixed a lot in that particular presentation while presenting. Something I wrote, maybe it was incorrect, I fixed it. And then in Q&A also, I fixed a lot of solutioning. But again, it wasn't really up to the mark. My dev life cycle wasn't there. So I felt like, no, I don't think I'll be able to get through it. I waited for 4 weeks, but I knew where the result is going to be. I didn't pass in my first attempt. And from that moment, I was like, okay, I have to get through it again. Reached out to Khalid. Khalid said, okay, you got to wait for some time. Keep preparing, don't worry. And next year you will get another chance. March 2020 was the time when I was supposed to attempt the review board. March 17th precisely. Why I'm telling dates? Because dates are very important. On 15th March, which was Sunday, we got an email. I prepared back to back again 6 weeks from Jan, Feb, and March. I was like, okay, I'm gonna smash it, and we'll see how we go. And March 15th came, and all of a sudden we got the email out, because of COVID-19, we can't really get through together, and all the boards have been cancelled, and we will get in touch. I was like, what happened just now?
That must have been so frustrating.
And I was like, I spent so much time again, and I managed my life around this particular date, and then it happened again. So I just left it. And again, with COVID, all different sort of challenges started happening. And a month later, Suzanne said, okay, yes, I think we might have opportunity to take you on the board in 2-3 weeks. So let's see how we go. I said, yeah, that's okay. I'm ready now. I have done what I could have done. Now it's an opportunity to just sit in the exam and see how we go. And then finally, second attempt, all good. We were given 3 hours this time because it was remote. Plus, the whole scenario was kind of getting revamped. It was getting a little bit covering all different areas of Salesforce. Not only Salesforce, it was Mulesoft, so Marketing Cloud or other bits. So it was. I think scenario was getting complex, and hence all the candidates starting getting 3 hours. So I get through that particular scenario, and after solving for 3 hours, I was very clear that okay, I think I'll be fine. So I went through the presentation. Presentation was seamless. 45 minutes, just 30 or maybe 15 seconds before I finished, and Q&A happened. I was like back to back. All questions were coming very nicely, and I think I finished maybe 5 minutes before in the Q&A, might be, and I think within 7 days I got the result that I have passed. I was like, that's it, done.
Do you remember the feeling when you found out you'd passed? Like, do you remember that moment?
It was so again. I the habit of waking up at 4 o'clock, so it was still on. Still, yeah. After the exam, still on. So I woke up at around 4. I was reading some other bits, and around 5 o'clock, I got the email, and I just opened up. Like, congratulations, you have passed the review. But I was like, wow, that's it. I'm done. I'm not gonna. So I just immediately went to my wife. I was like, okay, look at this email. That's the most important email of my life. I woke her up and immediately started pinging all my friends, and that was the awesome feeling which I could have actually seen or have felt. So that was awesome.
So you obviously you it was 2 review boards, but you passed quite quickly in terms of from when you started Salesforce as a profession to the review board. Obviously, you did have a very strong history with IT, but specifically, do you know what it was about your background that helped with the review board?
I think while preparing the review board, there was a commentary or there was a suggestion or feedback that we received to all the candidates. We were told that, okay, CTA review board is not a certification where you basically read the content and get through the exam, multiple choice question or other bits, and you'll be fine. It's an exam, more of a T-shape knowledge is required, where you need to know the breadth of the content and the depth of the content as well. The preparation of this whole particular exam was very important. You need to know the technical stuff for sure, but knowing what to say, when to say, when you're talking to a developer versus a tech lead versus architect versus a director or a CIO, CTO in the organization, your communication to that particular person varies, and the way you message that varies, and that comes with experience. So it's not something will happen immediately, and it's not something which I even got it very easily. After getting through the practice, knowing exactly what to say to different in given time is a key. Planning is key. Communication, planning, and then preparation. The knowledge itself is all very important. So that I think, given the kind of expertise or experience I had in past and kind of experience I was getting through the projects and through the whole program itself, that actually helped me to really get through the review board in 2 years, from 0 certification to 18 certification. I think in 3 years I was there.
Yeah, wow. And now you're no longer with Salesforce. You've recently moved on. So I'm interested to know when you were thinking about making a change, like how were you assessing opportunities? How were you kind of because obviously there's lots of companies out there that would have liked to hire you, and lots of partners that are looking for people just like yourself. So yeah, how did you go through that phase of kind of weighing up different challenges and opportunities and seeing what would be right for you next?
Right. Yeah. I think so. Salesforce is awesome employer, and it gives a lot of benefits to all the employees and all the architects. And I was told by one of the external person that okay, Salesforce really pampers their architects. It's very hard to really get one architect off Salesforce, and that's really the reality. And you get to work on awesome projects and enterprise projects, and then eventually get a lot of benefits. But for me, I think the passion of really doing something on my own was something I really wanted to do from many years. So in 2008, I was speaking to my friend that, okay, let's do something together. It's something we can do it now. We can take a risk, and that didn't happen. 2014, I was actually in UK, about to finish my engagement. I talked to one of my another friend that, okay, we can do something together. Didn't happen. And then it was last year. Then I thought, okay, I think I'm at a stage where I need to take a risk now, to really achieve my or chase my dreams. It's an important time of my life. If it won't happen now, it possibly will be. I need to wait for next 5 years more, or maybe will happen or won't happen. I don't know after 5 years. So I told myself that, okay, now, last year I have to get started, and then my wife expected our second child, and that actually plan was again up in the air. So this year I was like, I have to do it now. It's something, I have to make the move. I have the right security in terms of, um, having a financial security in your family, is something I was able to achieve, which gave me the comfort and the confidence that, okay, I can take a leap now. And then secondly, looking at the opportunity size also, I really wanted to start something, grow the practice maybe from zero, and build up the whole company and grow one particular culture where everyone would love to work, something which Salesforce was doing, right? So I really wanted to create something like that. And I was fortunate enough that I actually got introduced to Mark few years back, and we started having conversation this year, and eventually things clicked, and I decided to join Ingenuity Partners, which is where Kyle Dunshire, who is the managing director, who started the company, and Mark, who joined Kyle Dunshire, I think in 2018-19 times. So the idea was to, why Ingenuity Partners again? Because Ingenuity started with the motive of helping customers from IT and strategy and architecture perspective, where strong area was there from Kyle, right? So I was very keen to work in a company where I can utilize my skill, which I have earned from all the expertise, right? So the idea was that, yes, I think Ingenuity, I know people over there. I know the company kind of work they are doing, focusing on financial services and education sector. And there was a focus of building product also within the company. So, and that was something I really wanted to do, that, okay, I want to build a small product maybe to start with, and then slowly pivot to a bigger product. So all those ticks were happening with Ingenuity, and I was getting an opportunity to really grow this particular company from, like, this Ingenuity is not really huge company where I won't be able to explore or learn that particular knowledge of running the company itself or work in the leadership team, or it's not such a big company, or it's not a small company. Hence I thought, okay, it's a good firm where I can get expertise around the business, and then use my skill from architecture to really grow the practice also. So that was the motive.
And your title is head of engineering and architecture, right? So you're an engineer at heart. Like, you come from an engineering background, and obviously you've progressed into architecture over time.
Yeah.
And I think in the broader ecosystem, if we look outside of Salesforce, like, I know architects obviously exist in pretty much all IT environments, but what I see is a lot of engineers do architecture. Like a Java engineer might be a senior engineer, and they're still doing architecture, and they don't have this kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not such a rush to become an architect.
Yeah.
Like, why do you feel that in the Salesforce world? Because you're going to be managing architects and engineers, and I imagine a lot of the engineers that you manage will want to become architects quite quickly, because
Yeah.
that's just how the Salesforce environment kind of works. Why
Yeah.
do you think that is? Like, why is there such this thirst for becoming an architect so quickly in the Salesforce world?
I think more or less the focus of becoming architect is, everybody sees becoming architect as a big opportunity, where of course from architecture perspective you get breadth of knowledge, the size of opportunity grows, where you get to earn more within the architecture space. But I think maybe it is true, maybe it is not true now these days, because developers are also doing very well. And it's very hard to find developers and senior developers within the space, right? So maybe now it's not valid, but the having that expertise in the hand and being able to communicate at that level, where I think engineers would they see that as huge attraction point. Secondly, Salesforce is really promoting very hard in terms of getting more architects in the ecosystem, which is the right thing to do, because to grow the practice, to grow the ecosystem, there is already huge community from developers perspective. There are only few architects. So to grow to next level where Salesforce wants to go, the architect community has to grow as well with time. Hence, it's a huge push. If you would have noticed, architect.salesforce.com, the whole portal has come in for best practices, to share knowledge, to have the right architecture, what all different techniques you could want to use, what a multi-cloud, how the multi-cloud implementation might look like. So there is a lot of push from Salesforce also to grow more architects. And I think somewhere and to some extent, that's another push for all the engineers to look up to architects. Yeah, and I think that's the role I would want to do. But reaching that particular role, it should happen within some time. It shouldn't happen like, okay, you have 4-5 years of experience, you have done one integration design, you are qualified architect. It shouldn't be that way. Sure. I think and that's something me and Mark in Ingenuity, we had been very particular that, okay, this community, we will grow in the company, but with the right people, with the right skill. And we will not really promote, or we will not really give the architect's opportunity to everyone, where it's an opportunity where one should get only when someone is really keen, someone is really qualified, someone can perform at that level. Because otherwise, you put people in front of the customer and they don't perform, it's a bad reputation for the company, and eventually bad implementation design comes along in the projects, and which actually gets very expensive to solve later. It should be the general practice within the whole ecosystem that Salesforce has already defined the path of getting the certifications, but the expertise should be always tested to become architect. It should, and I have seen many people have certifications also, but still the knowledge is not there. Cramming and solving is also not an approach which people should use. I think it's the relevant experience, but doing things by hand is very important.
And from an engineering standpoint now, there's lots of Salesforce developers in the industry that don't come from an engineering background. But how much value will you put on broader software engineering skills compared to just knowing how to write a line of Apex and the pure Salesforce skills? And do you think that's something that's changing in the with the introduction of Lightning Web Components and the JavaScript? The frameworks that are coming into Salesforce, do you think you need to be an engineer now and not just a Salesforce developer?
I think with time, of course, things are changing. With time, we have seen from how Visualforce to Aura to LWC, the whole tech stack has changed. And now with Salesforce Functions, the expertise of writing Node.js application or a Java application and putting that in function is growing slowly. And that's something is going to happen. Saying that it won't happen that, okay, people will be Salesforce developer role itself will go away, because there will always be Salesforce development in terms of you will need to do something on Salesforce to really automate some business process. The expansion of the knowledge, expansion of the tech stack has happened already, and I think it will happen with time, because you can see there is a tight relationship is getting built between Salesforce and AWS. Most of the customers has Salesforce, most of the customers has AWS. You can set up a private VPN within Salesforce and AWS. You can do integration very quickly between the two platforms, and then that gives a lot of developers who are not on Salesforce but still able to explore Salesforce. Maybe that's how I got introduced, and other way around also, where Salesforce developers are not just going to work only on Salesforce. They might need to work on something on Heroku or on AWS, or build some Java application and put it on EC2 container or Lambda, or put it on Salesforce function. So the breadth of this particular role is actually growing slowly, and which is good for the platform, and good for the ecosystem also, because with that happening, you can see there are a lot of developers who are coming from different ecosystem, different technology. They're able to really learn about Salesforce and integrate and build automation on the platform, and that's how people get introduced and slowly make the move towards the platform. Or if not make the move, they get comfortable enough to work across the technologies. So I think it's good for the platform, and good for the ecosystem, but it's getting harder for the developer to keep a tap on both or wide range of technologies, I feel like.
Yeah, 100%. And I do think that expectations are becoming greater. Like, I think, it's quite rare now for to get a Salesforce developer role where they just need to know Salesforce. Like, I think someone that has just stuck to Apex and hasn't explored is like, they're not getting left behind, but their opportunities are getting fewer and fewer, because there are there's so much more out there to learn, and we're seeing that the people that are in most demand are the engineers that can build like kind of across multiple platforms, or be exposed to different things.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, and that's what is going on. And then I think the overall scheme of work is, whatever you do on the platform, if you do it right and with the right mindset, from design and architecture perspective, that's awesome. I think one should focus on start building those bits in their domain. Of course, keep learning multiple technologies to get comfortable, know exactly what's happening. But doing right is very important. I have seen that. I have called it out to so many people that whenever you're looking at a problem statement, look at from end-to-end use case perspective, where your use case might not be just to write Apex class or a test class, but look at from end-to-end security, or end-to-end use case, or end-to-end user experience, how this might look like. Whatever you're building, is that really relevant? I think questioning the architecture is always going to make the architecture better.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's what should be a basic role of any developer, where and who might be working only on Salesforce or across or multiple technologies. That, okay, what they are doing, is that something really fulfill the problem between that particular use case, and how that's going to help, is that efficient? All those bits are important, and again, and that makes the developer role a little bit harder, but I think it's more of helping the application to be better. That's the outcome which everyone should be working on.
So aside from the technical skills, as you're building your team, what kind of things are you going to be looking for in a person? Like, I guess the values are important, as you said, do the right thing.
Yes, I think so. That's one of our value, by the way, in our organization, that getting things done properly, where we value the most in terms of that we do it right for the customer, and we don't want to be in a situation where the overall the implementation will suffer later. We would want to do it right in one shot, and we want to have a flexible environment in terms of a playful environment where people can actually enjoy working in the culture. So they are like two primary values of our organization, where we would want to bring in a culture where we get the right skill, who are able to help our customers do the right thing first time, and have a very flexible and good environment, a fun environment to work with.
Yeah, nice. So if anyone wants to reach out and ask any questions or pick your brains, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is the platform where I'm always active. So feel free to reach out and connect me on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to accept any request and respond to the messages.
And a nice 4 a.m. Message is likely to get a response.
For sure.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to hear more about your journey, and yeah, lots of really relevant and important information in there for our listeners. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben, for having me. I think it was awesome opportunity, and I was telling myself that I usually hear your podcast, not usually, every time hear your podcast, and this time I'm gonna hear myself. So let's see how we go.
Yeah, nice. Well, I hope you enjoy the episode.
Thank you. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. Take care.
Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the chat, and if you did, please make sure you have subscribed for future episodes that are coming through. I would also be very grateful if you would consider leaving a review on your chosen podcast platform, as 5-star reviews will help us to reach more trailblazers from across the world. I look forward to sharing another episode with you soon, and thanks again.